I want to start by thanking all of us for making it, and also to thank you for granting my permission during the last staff meeting. I want to talk to us first as parents before talking to us as teachers. The present condition that started since 2016 has caused a lot of destabilization in our entire communities, and it has affected a lot of families. Maybe it has not touched you as an individual, but there are so many families suffering because of that 2016 incident that is still going on up to now. And I want to say that we have children who have been affected by the situation, and as parents, the workload has increased because for those that are in areas, in regions where the schools have not been going, they are exposed to so many things. And if you were a parent who was not creating enough time for your children, this alone calls for some kind of awareness for you to see that it is important to have probably a bi-monthly meeting with your children, because some of these things, when they are exposed from childhood, the children grow up to trust their parents so much. So if we create an environment that is conducive for them to confide in us, some of the things that they are exposed to, we can stop them at an early stage without it getting to some levels that it will now become uncontrollable. I want to talk about drug addiction and violence that is happening in most of our schools, in most of our communities. It starts from childhood. Children are very, very smart. Sometimes we just look like they are not, but they are innocent learners. They look and they pick those things, and we might not see it. We think that they are ignorant, they are naive, and things like that. But it starts from you identifying that small change. You are with a child in the house, you should be able to pick that small change and don't ignore it. It should not look like, okay, this is how it, no. From that time, you just acknowledge, you just see that this thing has changed, call them and try to talk to them. I know in our African setting generally, most of us grew up in parenting styles that the authoritarian parenting style, where we impose, you must do this is what I want you to do as your father. But if we should try to adopt the permissive parenting style, talk with them, see that okay, they also have their own opinions, try to listen to them also, talk, because when they get into this drug, it's as a result of stress, and it stems from the home. Sometimes it stems from the home, because when they engage into these things and we come in as, okay, you don't want this, you don't want that, you don't want to understand the state of things, you become like their enemy. So we have to try to create that atmosphere to encourage them to talk to us, to encourage them to open up to us as parents, because in a double capacity, we are teachers as well, and the community expects us to set an example as teachers. And so if we have our children that are wayward, it is kind of a blow to us. And then I want to also talk about us keeping an eye on the kind of friends our children keep. Know who they are working with, because drug addiction and violence and all of that, sometimes it comes from peer pressure. Who they spend more time with, the people they talk to, the people they hang out with, they are exposed to these things. Let's try as much as possible to do that follow-up. That follow-up should be there. We should try as much as possible to do that follow-up. I know with the current situation still, most of us have engaged in different things, and we are so busy. But it will not make any sense for you to spend your time working money, and then what you're doing, like the people you're living, like those that will stand in for you in the days when you don't have the strength to, and if the time comes and they cannot do it. So it is only good for us to do our homework, to take that place, to take that responsibility and talk to them. Now, as teachers, I want to say that some schools, we have incidents where teachers get into confrontation with students, especially in schools where you see students who left from these areas where schools have not been going, and now they are trying to get back to school. They are already exposed to a lot. They have had that life of independence. They are not under any control and things like that. So it is now for you to use the counselor to be able to talk to them, because more of what we are doing is just to try to talk them out of those things. They have decided, they have made up their mind. It's a first step, and it is very difficult for them. So coming now to call them names, insult, and all of that is not going to help. That is why we are going to work as a team this academic year to see that the workload is not going to be just on the counselor. We are not going to impose punishments, but we are going to have a way of communicating, talking, dialogue, so that we can bring them back to that point where they can be motivated to study. For violence, there are some things that we do in the house that children copy. When something happens, shouting or beating the child is not the best way to go about it. I've learned a lot since I became a mom, since I became a parent. As a person, now I'm stepping away from my counseling show. As a person, I shout. I used to shout a lot. My younger brother, our last born, used to say you shout a lot, but I did not notice it until when I started having kids. And when I shout at my little boy, he will just stand and be looking at me. He will not do what I want him to do. Until now, I discovered that it's not working. I calm down and I talk, and you see him doing that thing that you wanted him to do. It's to say that shouting is not the solution. Even to a small child, shouting is not a solution. And I want to also say that our schools are not going as effective as they should, because there are some schools that are functioning. Some of us parents have our children sent to live with relatives, sent to live somewhere. It is good for us to keep in touch with those children, because you are not there physically to understand what they are going through. So sometimes they can get involved into things because of that neglect, that family concern they are not getting from home, and the person they are living with may not fit in that shoe as their mother or as their father. So keeping in touch with them, try to know what is happening and all of that. Don't just send your child to live with somebody and all you do is probably they call that they need money, you just murmur. You don't have time to talk with them. When they call, try to talk, find out, be interested in knowing what is happening today, how is it going from their day-to-day activities. That way, even talking with them on the phone, if you are somebody who is very, very observant, you will discover that at this point something is different from the way you were talking with that person last time. Because when they start getting into this drug consumption and things like that, the first thing is they withdraw. They show that withdrawal to things that they normally like. The way they will talk with you is not just the way they used to talk before, and you can pick from that there is something that is wrong. So it's just for us to know that when they have gone to this stage, there is a possibility that we can always bring them back by just talking to them and making them understand that, okay, it's not the end of life. This thing happens because of this, but there is a way out, and you can become a better person, and you can even become somebody to talk to others, to encourage them, than condemning them, talking to people who instead aggravate the whole situation. Knowing how to talk. First of all, if you have a situation, you have people you trust with such information to talk to. There are people who will take it and it becomes like provocation, and they will not trust you to want to open up to things like that. So I think so far that is what I could present, because Quincy just told me about me talking to this.